Hello, welcome to CodeJoy Chess channel. Um, I have this all set up. I'm gonna go over. Look, it gives it away. I hid the moves so you won't know, but I did win this game. Um, I was on a losing streak and I was right at 2002, which means if I lose, I'm gonna go below 2000. I don't think I've been below 2000 since I reached 2000. The highest I've been is 2064. But instead of getting up to 2100, I just started losing over and over again. And took a break, and then I decided to play tonight and managed to get the win. So what this is going to be an advanced video, and I'm going to share. It's too hard to be able to talk and win against a 1900 player. So I wasn't talking during the game. I just played the best I could. And I'm going to talk after the game and kind of share my thought process. And then we'll go over the computer analysis. But I think this will be helpful for someone who's just enjoys chess or someone who is 1500, 1600, and maybe wants to know how to get to 1800. Something like what's the difference? And I'll show you. So here it goes. So I play d4 right away. You know that means I'm trying to win because it's objectively one of the best moves. It's what Leela Chess Zero, the open source AI, would play. That's currently the best player, I think. Um, okay. He plays d5, just meeting me in the middle. And you have to understand, we each have 30 minutes, but we blitzed out the first like 10 moves because it's all theory, basically. And we're good enough to where even though we have all the time in the world, we don't need to he doesn't need to think about this move. This is just what he plays. And this is just what I play. Like if I see d5, I'm just playing c4 basically 100 out of 100 times if I have in my mind Queen's Gambit. But anyway, he's thinking Queen's Gambit declined. That's how he meets this. I don't take. If I take, he takes, and I don't know. I'll show you why I don't take. Best move is knight here. The threat now is if he makes some ridiculous move like h6, I could play takes, and then when takes, this pawn is a little bit loose. The knight's ready to hit it. Maybe queen check, then bishop blocks, then queen back here, attacking where the bishop was, and then all of a sudden the bishop is blocking the queen to here, and then knight hops in. So that's the idea, is just ganging up on this square. Okay, now he plays an excellent move, c5, protected by the bishop. If I take, it just activates his bishop. He also gets his queen out on the diagonal. This is a very strong move. He's a very good player, and you'll notice we're both kind of going for the same structure. Here I play e3. Not sure if that's the best move, but I win almost all my games where I use this pawn structure. The idea is this pawn is expendable. If he ever takes me, I will develop my bishop to here and get it in the game. If he ever doesn't guard this properly, I can take at the right moment and gang up on this square with my knight and some other pieces, and then bring my bishop out. The purpose of e3 is protecting this pawn, so the tension here, if he ever takes, I can but it's not really really what I'm doing is I'm letting my queen out in this direction. I'm also getting, most importantly, I'm getting the bishop out. Okay, so the purpose of this move is for the bishop to talk to c4. So if d takes c4, I can play bishop takes c4, and that's why this move is so important. Now the best players in the world will get their bishop out to f4 before doing what's called closing the pawn chain. I happen to like not doing that because if I bring it out and I don't really have a strategy for it, it's just going to get lost in the middle game. And I like to use my bishops in the end game, so I'll save him for later. In the London system, you would bring him out, and you don't care if he gets sacrificed. Sometimes you drop him back to G3, and then if they take it ever, you play H takes, and your rook can have an open file, and you can even castle and still be okay. But in this position, because I'm opened up my queen side, this isn't a London system. I don't like doing that because if he ever gets lost and pawn takes and this rook is here, I don't know. I just don't like castling. It's just how I have the most success. So he hops out, and you'll notice we have a basically symmetrical position. Excuse me. Symmetrical positions usually favor white because I get to move first. Now I hop my knight out. The logic of this is he hopped his knight out and he's attacking this multiple times. I'm defending it. And the idea is I don't want to play because this pawn is already up here and going to get traded. This pawn is supporting this square, but it doesn't actually want to take. Because if pawn takes and I play pawn takes, then you'll notice his pawns are all connected and mine would be isolated. Like this pawn cannot defend this square because it's already past the C3 square. So this is the high level of chess, is when so first he's just copying me, and then I think here I just take. And the idea of that is I already got my knights out. I need to get castled. This bishop doesn't have an aggressive square to go to, and he's not taking the bait, so I'm just going to take. And then this open file, I can use my rook in, and I'm going to bring my bishop out. So this is why I beat him, is he doesn't understand what I understand. He plays pawn takes. And I don't think that's good because, as you'll see later in the game, this pawn is a target. If he had played knight takes and then knight takes and queen takes, he would keep this pawn structure. But instead, it'll be a target. Okay? So I bring my bishop out, pinning the knight, threatening to play knight to E5. He immediately doesn't allow that. If I played knight to E5 now, he would just take my knight and defend his bishop at the same time. Whereas if I took with check, he would hop back and avoid death and win 2 pieces. If I play knight E5 and he takes, and then I take, I'm attacking his knight, but he's also attacking me, so he could take. I mean, that's kind of an interesting variation. But anyway, I just castled. Because that was the point of getting my bishop out. It's bishop out, castle. Okay? I mean, I would have played a knight move if he hadn't defended well, but okay, so now he's saying, get out of here. Now, I already analyzed this game a little bit after, just briefly, and computer likes, interestingly enough, computer likes bishop A4, which is saying stay aggressive. And I can see why. The problem with bishop A4 in my mind is then he has the move B4, which immediately attacks the bishop, and if the bishop drops back, I guess computer likes it here or here, probably C2. He just has so many pawns after the move B4 and I bishop retreat that he can play a pawn move and force my knight to run away, and then he can hop his knight in. It's just bad for me. So I'll check what the computer had in mind later, but I dropped back. And what's interesting here is this pawn has no supporters of his. This pawn right here, mine does. So now he takes. And it'll be interesting what the computer says, but I play knight takes. And the whole reason why is I don't want to have any long-term weaknesses that are hard and annoying to defend. If I play pawn takes, it's an isolated pawn for, like, I don't have to play that, but it isolates my pawn, and then it'd be defended by the queen and the knight, but that would restrict the queen and the knight from going and attacking his weaknesses because I would have to defend my own weakness. Whereas if I take with the knight and he takes, now again I have the same decision. Do I play pawn takes or queen takes? I play queen takes. Now the whole idea of this is keep this, there's no weakness. Like this pawn is defended, it's two chains and they're clearly defended. Like my most forward point is defended by a pawn and it's part of a wall, it's solid. The queen cannot be kicked from here. In the game I was thinking, can he play bishop out? No, he can't. So he plays bishop here, just defending what I'm attacking. If he hadn't done that, I had knight takes because his bishop had no discovered check, so the queen was not indirectly defending this because I'm castled well. So he played defend. Now notice how he has three of his best pieces, most active pieces, all focused on defense of this one pawn. And this is why, this is the difference between 2000 and 1900 and why I'm able to win consistently and not drop below 2000. When you get near 2000, like they match me up with someone like a scrub, and this is the difference. Okay, so now I can play bishop d2. I also could have played rook d1. The reason I played bishop d2 is just complete development. Now my rooks are connected and they can start taking the D and C files. Okay, he gets ready to castle. Again, that's probably not a good move. Probably better would have been b3, threatening to bring the bishop out with an attack. But now here I play rook d1, lining up on his weakness, right, long term. Okay, now he castles, and now I play rook c1. So I'm already winning in this position, in my opinion, because I have the rooks activated, and he has both of his rooks looking at his own pawn, not doing anything. I have one on an open file and one on a semi-open file with an isolated target. So I'm crushing him in this game, even though he has a bishop. Well, we both have a bishop pair, so yeah, he has nothing compared to. He has no compensation for the weakness that he has. Okay, so now he plays b6, and he's going to play bishop c5 and attack my queen. Now in the game, for some reason, I just missed this. I knew I was planning on like seeing it coming, but then once he played it, I just didn't think of it. I think I liked the idea of getting my bishop out of the way so that the rook could see the queen. This was not a good move. This was my one part in the game where I should have seen this and done something about it, you know? But like maybe best would have been queen to here, or I don't know, but I didn't even consider the bishop move, and you'll see my queen becomes a target in this game. So anyway, I go here, but it's not the end of the world because pieces can move around and none of my pieces have to defend anything. They can just go wherever they want, and his pieces are stuck to the defense. Once this pawn falls, his position will not be good. So okay, so now he plays queen here. He doesn't need to defend this pawn anymore because it's got two defenders and my queen stopped attacking it and I only have two attackers. Now I play, this is a part of the game, I'm anticipating bishop attacking me and then I have nowhere good to go. And the reason why I play here is because I want to play, when he attacks me, I want to play pawn up. Now the problem with pawn up is it creates a weakness on e3, but I was just kind of panicking here because I had missed his bishop attack, and then I just kind of panicked here. He doesn't immediately go for it. Instead, he gets his rook in the game. That's one of the benefits of my position, is I didn't have to waste any moves. doing that at a critical moment where he could chase my queen. He's worried about his rooks. I don't have to worry about them. So here in this position, I played my bishop move, which was bad, to give the rook some space. And now in here, I realize that I can't play this without dropping this, so I just bring the bishop back. Plus, there's no longer a queen on this file, so the rook isn't as important to see things. Okay, now he plays pawn push, and he's trying to get rid of his weakness. He has both his bishops aiming down on my king, so although I had a good position earlier, I mean, he's a good player, so it's a good game. So here, I was worried about this guy because of the push I want to do. So here I just take, even though it was nice to pile on his weakness, I just take, and he plays rook takes, which is probably not the best move. I like bishop takes here because it threatens the knight, and if he ever takes the knight, then his queen can take my bishop. So I would have had to run away. But instead, I get to attack his rook. Computer, I already saw. Computer likes, I was thinking about this move the whole game. Bishop h6. Sometimes when your queen is here, you can play bishop here. Pawn can't take because the king is lost. And if the pawn steps up, your bishop is good there. And it threatens checkmate. So it's not bad. And he can't play knight here, attacking queen and defending checkmate because bishop takes knight. So computer found that as the move here. In this position, I like bishop here because my bishop was a bad piece. But by getting rid of this pawn and then with rook takes, attacking the rook, now my bishop's in a good position. He's outside of the pawn chain that he was once stuck behind, remember? Okay, so now he plays takes. And this is another huge difference between someone 2000 and someone not. In this position, 99% of chess players are going to play rook takes rook, so they can have an open file and they don't want to move their knight backwards. But really good players don't mind a backwards knight move, especially in this position, because now my rook is attacking the bishop is attacking the bishop, and if bishop takes, if I hadn't done that, you have to look at the captures in the position your enemy has. If I had played rook takes, he could have played bishop takes, and then I would have to either play pawn takes and have a weakness again. It's all about weaknesses. Or if I played rook takes, he would play bishop takes, and then if queen takes, he can do queen takes, and then boom, a pawn weakness here. Then he plays rook here, and I am defending this all game, and then you don't want to be in a defensive position. So I play knight back. And this is brilliant because, if I may say so myself, because now he can't take me, because if he does, then my knight gets into a really good position, and my rook is attacking his bishop, and I just have turned the tables on him completely. So this is a really good retreating move. Now he's attacking queen. I move up, and he thought for about like 5 minutes here. And I think he was calculating, can I trap his queen with bishop here? And he decided yes. I had already seen this and thought I'll go to I'll play queen f4. Problem with queen f4 is then he has bishop d6, and the queen protects both bishops, and both bishops just shred down attacking my queen and king, and it's really bad for me. So instead I found a really good move, queen h4. And this is the critical part of the game because the queen is attacking the knight. Now, I moved here with the idea of going here, but then I recognized that it doesn't work. So I went here. And then he played, and now I'm thinking he still can't take the bishop, because if he does, my stupid knight becomes brilliant, right? So he can't do that. And he can't play this with a tempo because my queen's not there. It's difficult to attack my queen. I think the best move is pawn attack queen and make the queen move. But the problem with that is then you're giving the bishop a square, and I can checkmate you because your bishop isn't there to defend your king. So he didn't want to do that. So he attacks my queen. Now here, this is the critical moment where in this position, my plan was bishop takes bishop. And if knight takes queen, bishop takes queen. And I should show another variation. Right here in this position, if I play bishop takes bishop, he can play knight takes queen. And then if I play bishop takes queen, he can play knight takes bishop with check. And then I move and he takes my rook. That's too good for him. So I'm waiting for the right time to do this move. So now he attacks here. Again, in this position, if I take with the threat on his queen, he can just take my queen. And then if I take his queen, he can take my bishop. And again, I feel like I'm giving him too much. So and then I go here. And then he goes here. And now finally, I have bishop takes. Because if knight takes queen, bishop takes queen. And now the knight is under attack. I've won 2 pieces, including a queen, and he's only won a queen. Therefore, he takes back with the pawn. And now, my plan was, I knew what to do if he took my queen, but now that he saw all that, and he takes here, and this is the most fascinating part of the game. This is why I'm showing it to you. When I play bishop takes, the queen is now seeing my bishop. My bishop is defended by my queen. So, and this bishop is defended by the rook. So, and that's more important than the queen defending it because the rook is what prevents him from playing like queen takes in any variation. So here, the queen cannot take either bishop, and he can't take my queen. He can't do anything other than pawn takes. That's the best move. And now my plan was queen takes pawn because the rook defends it and it gets out of the way of the knight, and I've won a pawn by doing that sneaky attacking his queen instead of defending my own. But instead, I realized, oh no, my bishop is under attack, my queen is under attack, and if I move my queen, it has to be in such a way that he can't play queen takes bishop. So, my options are this diagonal. Because if I go here to defend the bishop, just queen takes. This square I can't use, so I can only use this square and this square. This square and this square are under attack by the knight. So I literally only have one move. And this is a very dangerous position for me. And the problem with this move, queen f3, is he has bishop to g4. Now, if I play queen f3, which I do, and he plays bishop g4, which he does, he played this quickly because he thought he had won the game. And what's funny is I had seen that queen f3 was losing to bishop g4 because in that variation, if I move the queen to like here, for example, or even to here, defending the bishop, even if I move the queen, get out of danger and defend the bishop, now his bishop takes my bishop or his queen takes my bishop, and I only have one defender. He has 2. So this knight protects this square. This bishop comes in, x-rays this bishop, and I can't take it because knight takes, and if I move, he can take my bishop. So this move wins my bishop. Now, so why did I do it? Well, first of all, I saw all of this during the game, and I was thinking it's impossible to defend this bishop. Going here does not defend the bishop because of bishop g4, which I saw. So I thought, well, I could just say, go ahead, take my bishop. I can play queen to c5. And at least I win a pawn. And I mean, at least I win a pawn, right? But instead, I saw, you know what? Queen f3 comes with an attack on the rook. So he doesn't have time for bishop g4 because boom. And so I saw that this wasn't working. He would have, in this position, he would have had to play, computer said rook to e8, but it still says white is winning in that position because then I have time. Now in this position, I have time to play, if he plays rook to here, I have time to play knight e3, which blocks the attack on my bishop from the queen. And then if he ever plays a bishop move, I can take it with the knight. So pretty amazing defense, but again, that's why this bishop move or this knight is kind of useful back here because it was fighting for this square. Anyway, knight to e3 has always been my threat of initiating it. So anyway, I just saw further than he did, and he plays this, drops the rook. Now the game's over, but I'll keep showing you because he's a strong player. So watch what he plays. He plays knight back, blocking the check. If he plays queen back, I would just play queen takes, and the game would be over because knight would have to recapture, and then I would take his bishop. So he plays knight back, and now there's a very interesting threat going on. It looks like his knight is no longer defending his bishop, so I can play bishop takes bishop. If I play bishop takes bishop, he plays queen e8 or e1 checkmate because my knight blocks my rook from defending my king, and there's no flight square. So I cannot take this bishop. And he's attacking me twice. And if I move the bishop, he has queen e1 checkmate. So in this position, I find knight back. The knight's done its job on d1. Now it's only getting in the way of the rook. I want a rook. I can afford to drop this piece, but because of how well positioned everything is, first of all, he can't take with the queen because knight takes. And if he takes with the bishop, if I played knight takes bishop here, which most players, again, would probably play, then he has queen takes knight. And then he's in my back row almost, defending his knight. And I'm winning, but it's not as good as, like, that would be losing a piece, let's say, because he would win the bishop and then knight takes bishop and he would win the knight. So he's winning a piece in this variation. However, I have the move rook e1 and now the knight. See, I see I'm 2 moves ahead. So I play the knight here to let the rook go and to prevent the queen from taking. So now when the bishop takes, I have a pin. And this rook is fatal because the knight's out of position, right? And the bishop can't move without the queen getting killed. And if the queen is defending the bishop, but I have 2 attackers on it. And there's no other, he doesn't have any other pieces. So this bishop is just dead. It can't move and it can't be defended and it's being attacked twice. So it's dead. So he finds bishop to here attacking my queen. And in this position, I didn't even notice he was attacking my queen. I'm not going to lie. I just saw that rook takes queen is overwhelming because then he has no checkmate threats and I do. So it doesn't matter that I didn't even register. So he takes my queen and then it's checkmate. And if it wasn't, I would win the bishop too. So that's checkmate. So briefly show it. Let's see. See, computer likes taking right away. Or probably this would also be evaluated. Nope. In some Grandmaster games, maybe they take and then they play it out. Anyway, I promise you that's usually what like a Grandmaster plays. Okay, now castle. Yeah, see, I was considering taking the knight and hopping in here. That was actually my plan in the game, but I was like, I'll just bring it back. And see how the computer understands. Do not take like this. Take like that. And again, take with the queen. Subtle, but super important. A computer will find it ways to make it work with an isolated pawn, but for human beings, it's so far superior to take with a piece instead of the pawn in this variation. I can't even stress that enough. Like, it doesn't. The computer is helpful, but not really, because it can do things you can't. So it'll recommend things that I wouldn't recommend you do. Oh, let's see. Instead of when he plays this move, yeah, it wants me to sacrifice the knight. And okay. And if takes, oh, because the queen is protecting that. So it just doesn't want to allow bishop here. It wants to gang up on this. Anyway, instead I just... If he attacked me here, what would I have done? Yeah, so I always have h4. Okay, so this is where I was at my weakest point, where I just kind of panicked. I didn't like anything, and I just played back here, which isn't ideal. But then he gives me this situation, and then it likes rook takes, and it likes bishop there, but I like this. Now it says we're dead even. Computer likes rook takes, but I like knight takes. Let's see if rook takes. Yeah, he would have played. See, computer doesn't mind going into these super boring. Like, white can't win here. Even though the computer says this is best, you cannot, like, it's really hard to defend this point. He's going to attack it with the knight, prevent it from advancing with the bishop, and attack it with the rook. So that's why I play knight back. I mean, if you want to listen to the computer, fine, but I promise you, I know what I'm doing. And it plays... and see, computer sees what I see, which is that you cannot play that because of this. And I'm just winning a piece there. So this move's really good. But then he has takes, and I'm lucky I have queen f3 with an attack, because he doesn't have time for bishop. See how it's a huge blunder. But even if he plays this, I have this. And then when he plays that, I'm guessing, yeah, just takes. Yeah, and then I'm winning in this game because his pawn structure is messed up. And I'm checking him, and then I'm going to bring the rook back. Or, I'm not sure. What's my next move here? Yeah, prevent checkmate and defend this pawn at the same time, and double attack here with check threatened. I think white's going to win that game. So, and that's if he finds the best move. Anyway, so he blunders the rook. And then I pin, and then checkmate. Okay. Hope you learned something. Thanks for watching. What did I start first? I think I start video.